So I get asked this a lot. What tribe should I force? What's the strongest composition? How do I counter Murlocs or dragons? So this video will give you a full overview of all the playable tribes and compositions currently in Hearthstone Battlegrounds. So for every composition, I'll share you the main direction that you need, the pros and cons that go with it, some counters to it, and the best meta and heroes that you can use with that strategy. We will be discussing mechs, beasts, demons, dragons, Murlocs, mechs, pirates, elementals, Deathrattle builds, Scallywag, exodia, and last but not least, Taunt build. I think I mentioned everything. If I forgot about something, I'll leave it here. But before I get started, it's important to mention that not all the statistics on compositions are very accurate. So let me elaborate. Sure, dragons are the best late game composition in Hearthstone Battlegrounds, but it is much harder to get and might appear less frequently in your lobbies compared to other compositions. It's also played with more specific heroes that go really well with the specific tribe. So in other words, you'll see more lobbies won by a tribe that isn't dragons, but they will have a lower win rate because they're easier to go and even bad heroes play it quite often. So don't be too fooled by statistics. There's multiple ways that it gets influenced. So always put on your thinking hat. Always put on your thinking hat. Okay, so we're kicking things off with beasts. You can already check out my full beast guide over here if you wish. So their main direction is an early Mama Bear or Goldrun. Goldrun is of course a lot better late game. Now, the main pros for beasts is that it spikes like crazy. You get a lot of instant stats, meaning it's also really easy to transition into. And the main cons is that it gets countered by a lot of different things. It's very often also 50-50 whether or not you attack first with your Golden comp. If they attack first, they're gonna do a lot more damage. Now, it does get countered by really big scaling like dragons, elementals, or really good Menagerie. It loses to Divine Shield, it loses to a Golden Mega Windfairy Cyclone that erases your entire board before you get value, and it loses to a Zap. And when it comes to meta, an early Mama Bear is really good in tempo metas because, like I explained, you can get a lot of early tempo on the board, and Goldrun seems to be alright in most metas. So Beast is playable with most heroes, but especially heroes that have Deathrattle synergy, such as Lich King, such as N'Zoth, of course do a lot better with it. Quick reminder, if you enjoyed the video, it takes 1 second to give it a like, as it helps me push this video to more people. And if you just want to catch more guides and stuff like this, you can also consider subscribing. Okay, moving on, mechs. I also have a full guide on mechs up already. The main direction is an early deflectable. Now, this could be bait sometimes, so be careful with it. That's about it. The main pros are, again, that it spikes really hard. It's a really strong comp in the mid game. It often leads to a top 4 guaranteed if you can scale up your board well enough. It has a million Divine Shields. It's like the composition that can get the most Divine Shields on pretty much every unit with modules, so it value trades a lot. Now, the cons is that scaling falls off quickly. You mainly need Leapers and then Iron Senses or Brand Scavengers or Taunt stuff with Arm of Empires, so your scaling compared to other compositions is bad. You get wrecked by a single unit, Ghoul, and yeah, you just get outstatted by big elementals or stuff like that. That's pretty much it. So the counters for this composition obviously are already big stats again, such as dragons and elementals, because you literally just can't deal with those. Also, Taunt comp can beat you really easily because your Divine Shield just die into small units, and those small units will summon more units and give more stats to other units. But it is really good at countering stuff like Murlocs because their poison does nothing into your Divine Shields. Also, pirates can't deal with your Divine Shields, and big demons also doesn't do anything against your shields. So generally just okay, mediocre stats you can easily take care of. And poison, there's no effect on you. Mechs performs really well in tempo metas and does really well with tempo heroes that put out early stats, such as Kaltas, such as Edwin, Rakanishu, anything that can put early stats onto Divine Shields because you get more value from buffing Divine Shield units, obviously. Now, demons, there's two kind of demons, jugglers and big demons. Again, I'll mention I have a very old demon guide that maybe could help you out still. Direction for these are an early Ref Weaver, which can also be bait, and an early juggler, which can also be bait. So be careful. Take those, but don't lock into them unless Bob gives you the full package. So the pros for big demons is that it is the strongest early game comp because you can have the biggest stats out of everyone. Nothing can beat a turn 1 Weaver into a million demons. You're gonna damage yourself, but you're gonna be biggest in the lobby. And then you also have jugglers, which is just one of the strongest mid game comps. The jugglers deal so much damage if you just hit some good Deathrattle demon units. So it is strong mid game, but it again falls off in the late game. Just like Mechs, it gets outscaled quickly because it's really hard to start scaling it up unless you find a brand and taunt your stuff, and yeah, it gets really tricky. So basically what I would say is demons in the late game gets countered by pretty much everything. Big demons gets countered by poison, by shields. Jugglers just get countered by stats, so a single battle master could solo jugglers. But the one thing that jugglers counters really well is mechs, because you just get rid of the shields for free and you summon a lot of little tokens. And generally mechs have high attack and low HP, so that's one cool interaction, I guess. The meta, obviously, you want a super tempo meta for demons to be good. If the meta is super aggressive, demons could maybe still get a first. And heroes, you want heroes that don't really need to level up, like Jyrexes, or heroes that like staying down, again, tempo heroes. Or heroes that have a hero power that supports them, such as, again, Jyrexes or George to divine shield your demons. Dragons, okay, this composition mainly just needs Scallywag as direction. Sometimes an early Razorgore can be enough direction, because that means you can just be strong and level to tier 6 to look for Scallywag. Also, hitting an early Nadina with a board full of dragons already could be direction enough to stick with it. I do have a dragon guide up as well. This one is also a bit older, but it should still be informational enough. So the pros for dragons is they have the most consistent scaling. You hit a Caligos and you're guaranteed to scale up your entire board for every battle cry you see. You don't need to roll specific things. You don't need to roll anything really besides the Nadina in the late game. You can just scale up your dragons as big as you want. So it is just super consistent, and you can give everything divine shield late game with Nadina, which is insane. Now the main cons is that it could be specifically countered if people play well around it by putting a ghoul second or something like that, popping an Nadina first and then having ghoul to get rid of the shields. Dragons can also lose to things that regain shields, so maybe a golden selfless with some poison. There are specific counters to it, but generally you shouldn't worry too much. What does it get countered by? Nothing really, it's insane. And what does it counter? It counters pretty much everything. Nothing beats a big board of divine shield units. Dragons have been playable almost every meta, but obviously in a slower meta they're better because you need all your stuff on tier 6. So heroes that hit early triples or that level quickly are obviously good as well with dragons. Best example is Maiev. Okay, now pirates. So the main direction for pirates is Hoggers if you want to do APM stuff, so just infinite gold pirates with salty looters, or Eliza. Eliza can be huge spike, and then you can just be strong pirate. Just play pirates with Eliza and you're gonna be fine for a while. I'll touch Scallywag Exodia later on. So the pros is that pirates actually have a lot of good early tempo. If you hit some captains and some Scallywags and again a Goliath or an Eliza, you're just gonna spike really hard, just like beasts. They spike very hard and have a lot of instant stats. Also, they scale mid combat. So during combat, if you're up against a token based composition, but the more attacks they do, the bigger your pirates can get. The huge cons to pirates is they lose to divine shields, they lose to poison, and they can lose really hard to a cleave and wind fury, I guess. So this means they get countered by Mechs, dragons, elementals, Murlocs, a really good Menagerie. All of that can counter it. But it does counter things like Deathrattle builds and Taunt builds, because again, if you have a composition that scales mid combat with Elizas or Goliaths or whatever, they summon so many little tokens that you can keep building up your board. Meta, again, a tempo meta is good for pirates, and most hero can play pirates. Economy heroes are a little bit better with pirates because you need to buy a lot of pirates to buff up salty looters, and you have hoggers and gamblers, so stuff like that. Murlocs, main direction, Bran. Pros is that they can snowball really hard. If you hit some lookouts and some begurgles, you outscale a lot of stuff and everything can get poisoned. Cons is again, it loses to shields because you yourself don't have shields, and a big cleave can also just wreck your board. Also, a spore or small poisons can just beat your big poisons. So it can get countered by a strong mech build, again by dragons and by a really good Menagerie. But it does counter elementals. Elementals have big stats, but generally not many shields, so poison should deal with it. And then you can also counter stuff like pirates and big demons. Meta, generally Murlocs are good in the mid-rangey meta. If the meta is too tempo based, Murlocs just gets crushed. If the meta is too greedy, Murlocs gets crushed. If the meta is somewhere in between, Murlocs are very good. Again, most heroes are good with Murlocs, but you'll like heroes that are more economy based as well, because you need to buy a lot of buffs to scale up your board. Elementals have a lot of direction. You like Major Domos sometimes, don't keep it around for too long, but Genie is good direction that you can level up to tier 6. And on tier 6 you have the Lil Reg, and of course there's Nomi on tier 5. The main pros of Elementals, I think, is that it is the biggest snowball composition. Once you get things rolling in the mid to late game, your board just explodes. So I think it is a composition that can get the biggest amount of stats on the board possible, which means you can beat everything non-poisonous. So the cons: poison. To get countered by Murlocs, by a really good Menagerie with some Amalgadon, stuff like that. You want a very greedy meta for elementals because you need to level to tier 6 with your genies and your Lil Rex and your Gars. That means that level heroes are obviously good because you want to get to 6 quickly, or get to 5 quickly and get the Nomi stuff going. Deathrattle mid direction is Baron, of course, because Deathrattles, and I guess Coiler and Kangors. So Deathrattles generally are not that good of a composition, but it does appear from meta to meta, so I still felt like I should include it. The pros is it is really easy to hit, like you can just spike out of nowhere if you hit Baron and Coiler and be fine for a couple turns. So you can kill people early, and you can also scam. If everything is lost, you can maybe still have a 1% win chance because of random Deathrattle stuff. Cons is, yeah, it loses to most things late game, and it often gets wrecked by a Zap or a big Cleave or just win free guys because you don't get enough value. What it does counter, however, are Mechs and Taunt builds, because Mechs do regain shields on their deflectables and stuff like that, but you keep summoning stuff, you have bombs, so just the refills on the board is probably enough. Again, Mechs are high attack, low HP, and same could be said about Taunt build. Deathrattle builds are often just decent in super tempo metas because it's a lot of tempo that you can generate out of nowhere, and I think it's playable with most heroes. Again, heroes with Deathrattle synergies are better with it, but yeah, I would stay away from it. Now, Scallywag Exodia. If you have never seen this build, I'll show a clip right now, but basically just summon a bunch of 1/1 stupid pirates with Scallywags. There's this broken Khadgar interaction with Baron where you get multiple 1/1s, and then with Elizas, you just get a huge board. Main direction is Eliza. If you hit Eliza, you can just transition into this very easily. Without Eliza, don't set up for it. I can also do a 50-minute video explaining this entire composition because there's so many small details to it, but we'll keep it simple in this one. The main pro is that it is a huge spike. If you hit Eliza with 2 Scallywags and a Khadgar, you're so strong. So just like a few other compositions, it's very easy to transition into because it gives you the big spike and doesn't scale gradually with buffs. Cons is that it still loses to really big stats. It can lose to a single Gar still from elementals. It also can get completely shut down by a Zap, and small taunts like Voidlord might cause your Scallywags to not die into it, and then the chain and the combo gets stopped and you also lose. So I get countered by big stuff, mainly elementals, because honestly a good Scallywag Exodia can outscale dragons and stuff like that. So it counters most stuff from Mechs to Murlocs to pirates and beasts. So far it seems to be playable in every single meta, and also most heroes can pull it off if you hit the Eliza, but level heroes again have an advantage because you need to hit the tier 6 Eliza. Menagerie main direction is Bran, Lightfang, and sometimes a Mitrix. Pros is that it is super flexible. You can go Menagerie pretty much every game, just buy random units and buy every buff you see. It can also really easily counter things because you can cater it towards what your opponents are doing. Do you need poison? Do you need divine shields? Do you need big stats? What do you need? Just throw it in the mix. Cons is honestly dependent on your Menagerie. If you're lacking certain things on your board, or if you have a bad Menagerie, then the cons really vary from game to game. Who are your opponents? What do you need? What tribes are in the lobby? What tribes are out of the lobby? Because Menagerie could outscale something like dragons if you hit really good stuff. Again, it gets countered by specific things, and you can counter specific things and cater your Menagerie to watch what you need. You can also play 2 Armageddons, which are the strongest units in the game, and that's the biggest upside of Menagerie, I guess. Late game double dong. Now most compositions can play double dong, but it's especially easy with Menagerie, of course. Meta, generally I think tempo metas are really good with Menagerie because you can just play whatever and play some buffs. I think a mid-range meta is the best for Menagerie. In greedy metas, there are going to be other things that can outscale it. And literally any hero can play Menagerie. Last but not least, let's talk about the new Taunt build. Your main direction, first of all, is good taunts. Then it is Kiraju Harbinger and Arm of Empire Champion. So yeah, the first direction you need is good taunts and an Argus. Don't pick Kiraju or Arm of Empire and stuff like that without having the proper setup already. Also, generally, I'll throw this in, is that Taunt comp is often a mixture of Menagerie or Mechs, because Mechs have divine shield taunts, and Menagerie means that you can scale up your taunt board still with buffs and Lightfang and stuff like that. So it's better than a completely neutral or non-tribe taunt build. Pros, again, is that it can spike really fast and easy to transition into because of Kiraji, and you can scale up quickly in the mid game as well with Arm of Empire and possibly Scavengers and stuff like that. But the cons is that you do get outscaled late game, unless again you set up for it properly, but very often you still lose to dragons and elementals. So yeah, it mainly gets countered by those things. It can also get countered by jugglers pretty easily if they snipe your backline, but what it mainly counters is greedy opponents. When people try to power level or just found Scallywag and try to go for a late game build, you can kill them before they get there, so it's really strong mid game. Just try to kill people. Meta, again, you want a tempo meta, and any hero can do it, but especially stat heroes are good because again, you're gonna stay down on tier 3 and 4, and you'll like to get extra stats on those units with the hero power. Thanks again for watching. This was again a highly requested topic, so I'm happy that I finally got around to doing it. You can leave your own thoughts down below in the comments, of course. I always try to read everything and reply to it, and if you have more questions, you're also free to leave them down below. I also want to thank the sponsor of the channel again, Power Play Rewards. Check them out in the description. You can just earn free money playing video games, mobile games. So if you like that idea, go check them out. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and good luck on the Battlegrounds.